For women received unlimited cards. But what the maid did next will leave you HEARTWARMED. Every Friday night in Des Moines, a storm brewed within the walls of a chic, glass-fronted home. For powerful women, Jasmine, the sharp-tongued advertising executive. Layla, the cunning tech entrepreneur. Rosa, the real estate mogul with a fashion sense that could turn heads. And Tara, the lawyer whose words could slice through tension like a hot knife through butter, came together to play a high-stakes card game. It was more than just a game. It was a brutal competition for status, and each woman was determined to reclaim her glory as they bellied up to the table. Laughter filled the air. But there was a sharp edge to their voices. Maria, the diligent maid, quietly swept the room, her heart heavy as she caught fragments of their barbed jokes. Did you see that last project she managed? You'd think it was amateur hour. Jasmine's laughter rang out, fierce and unforgiving. Maria felt the sting in her chest. This wasn't just a game for them. It was their way of asserting dominance over one another. Maria tried to shake off the uneasy feeling as she polished the gleaming counters, but her heart sank further with each laugh that sounded more like sneers. She dreamed of a better life for her family, one with security, opportunities, and above all, dignity. Just then, a clumsy hand knocked over a tower of cards, sending them scattering across the plush carpet. A flurry of chaos erupting in the elegant space. Their designer heels skidded through the mess, frustration flaring. A suffocating silence fell as they exchanged scowls, the veneer of their polished lives starting to crack. Maria's heart raced. This was the moment their tightly woven, glamorous existence was on the brink. She stepped forward. Maybe we could use this as an opportunity? She stammered, her voice quaking against the tension in the room. Are you serious? Rosa shot back, eyes narrowing. Maria's heart beat louder, and she pressed on. Community events, we could raise funds for families like mine. People need help. Doubt clouded their faces, but something flickered behind their eyes, curiosity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The room shifted as neighbors began to trickle in, receiving Maria's infectious spirit. The women watched, their expressions softening. They began to see her not as a mere employee, but as someone who prompted change. With shared laughter and stories of childhood fears, the barriers of privilege and prejudice began to melt away. Yet, as hope wove its way through the gathering, a legacy of competition and judgment lingered in the air. A powerful question hung unspoken. Could they truly let go of the societal chains that had bound them? Maria's smile illuminated something profound in the room, and as her tears mingled with theirs, a new kind of wealth began to emerge, one not measured by status or dollars, but by the connections they forged and the empathy they discovered in one another. But could they embrace the humanity they all shared? The laughter that began to unify them danced on a razor's edge, teetering into uncertainty. For now, they stood on the precipice of change, and all it could take was a single heart to turn their world upside down. The air was thick with emotion, but it was Jasmine who first let out a sigh, her shoulders relaxing. Okay, let us see this through then. If we're doing this, we'll do it right. Her voice wavered between leadership and uncertainty. The others exchanged furtive glances. It was an unexpected pivot, but Maria felt the shift in the room. Like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds, a new path was emerging. Right? We can start by hosting a small event next weekend, Layla suggested cautiously, her fingers nervously tapping against the table. Maybe a bake sale or something. It would be a quick way to raise some cash without a big commitment. Rosa raised an eyebrow, the wheels clearly spinning as she glanced at the faces of the others. We could probably find some donors willing to match funds, she mused, her tone shifting from skepticism to intrigue. And if we're honest about the purpose, people might actually be willing to help. Tara nodded, her sharp mind already envisioning plans. Let us make it something fun. A little competition wouldn't hurt, she said, her lawyer instincts kicking in. We could challenge the community with games, quizzes. It's been forever since I've enjoyed something like that. Maria was taken aback by their proposal. You really mean it? She asked, searching their faces for insincerity. What had begun as a mere suggestion suddenly felt like a burgeoning possibility, igniting a fire in her heart. Yes, Jasmine replied with surprising enthusiasm. Let us stop using our wealth as armor and turn it into something meaningful. Maybe we've been playing life all wrong. The confession felt almost foreign, but it laid bare something they had all been hiding: a desire for personal connection beyond status and wealth. An unexpected sense of unity filled the room. They began brainstorming ideas, laughter bubbling up among their planning session, competing with light-hearted banter. A sharp contrast to the previous tension. It felt almost liberating. Moments later, Maria found herself swept up in their energy, sketching out a rough plan on the tablecloth. As they playfully debated who would take on which responsibility, the event morphed into something that felt alive, bursting with color and purpose. It became clear that the true heart of this venture lay not in the funds they would raise, but in the community they would build. I can put together a social media campaign, Layla said, eyes bright with ambition. It'll attract more people, but we have to stay focused on the real message. And I know a few local businesses that might donate supplies, Rosa added, her business acumen kicking into high gear as the hours flew by. Maria felt light and, for the first time, included rather than overlooked. The gulf that once separated her from these women was narrowing, and her voice wasn't just heard. It was cherished. But as the laughter echoed through the chic home, an unsettling thought crept into Maria's mind. What if the strength of their new connection faltered under pressure? What if their competitive spirit reemerged, their past grievances resurfacing? With her heart racing, she glanced at them, these powerful women who were beginning to show vulnerability, wondering if they could truly weather the storm ahead alongside her. In that fragile moment of burgeoning hope and lingering doubt, one question hung in the air. Would they truly work together to change lives, or would the harsh winds of competition blow them apart once more? The week rolled on, and excitement buzzed through their group chat like static electricity. Layla sent out colorful graphics for the event, each more vibrant than the last. The bake sale became a community carnival, infused with games, laughter, and a spirit of togetherness that sparkled in every message exchanged. On Friday evening, Maria arrived at Jasmine's place, heart racing with anticipation. Everywhere she looked, people were gathering supplies. Old friends were reunited, and the energy felt contagious, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Tables were set up in the yard, each one adorned with cheerful decorations that danced in the evening breeze. Over here, help me with this sign, Tara called. Her voice cutting through the din. Maria rushed over, feeling a part of something more significant than herself. They worked side by side, their banter filled with laughter and playful teasing. This one's my favorite. It's definitely the most ridiculous. Tara laughed, holding up a sign that read, "Guess the cake flavor winner gets a free slice." It encapsulated their shared humor, a glimpse into the camaraderie that was blossoming between them as the sun dipped low, casting golden light over the yard. Jasmine gathered everyone around. Her eyes sparkled with determination. Okay, ladies, let us make this amazing. Remember why we're doing this. There was a moment of silence as they all nodded, a shared heartbeat echoing through the evening air. Maria stepped back, feeling a wave of joy ripple through her. But the nagging doubt returned. The community had always seemed distant to her, and despite the growing bond among the women, could they truly count on each other when real challenges arose? The carnival kicked off Saturday morning. Children's laughter echoed as they ran from booth to booth, their parents smiling warmly. Maria noticed a few familiar faces from her neighborhood, and as she exchanged smiles and greetings, she felt that distance closing. They were not just neighbors. They were part of something beautiful. But then, mid-afternoon, the first storm clouds rolled in. Thunder rumbled ominously in the distance. Maria looked nervously at the sky, knowing the forecast had called for rain, but they had hoped for a miracle. "Don't worry. A little weather won't ruin our plans," Layla shouted, her voice optimistic even as the wind picked up, rustling the tables. "Let us just keep the momentum going." Moments later, the first drops fell, but the crowd seemed undaunted. They huddled under the tents, laughing and sharing stories, reinforcing this sense of community. It was electric, their collective joy defying nature as storms. But as the sky darkened, a larger challenge loomed on the horizon. One of the volunteers, a timid woman named Susan who had been brought into the fold, silently struggled to keep her composure. The sudden downpour hit just as she tripped, sending cookies flying and her voice cracking with panic. Maria felt a rush of empathy, her heart aching. She rushed to help Susan, pulling the others along. "We've got this. Together," she shouted, urgency pushing her forward. The women leaped into action, scooping up cookies, laughter mingling with shouts of encouragement, an unplanned team-building exercise. The storm outside, instead of tearing them apart, wove them tighter together. But as Maria turned to reassure Susan, she wondered if this moment was the tipping point. Would their bonds hold strong under the rising pressures, or would the rain wash away their newfound hope? What if, in trying to weather this storm, they were losing sight of their true purpose? Would it all unravel as quickly as it had begun? The thought hung heavy in the air, raising the stakes for what was sure to be a pivotal moment in their journey. As the rain poured down, it transformed the yard into a wild symphony of splashes and giggles. Maria glanced at the makeshift awning, where children squealed with delight as they played in the puddles that formed at their feet. Their laughter was contagious, yet each chime felt like a reminder of the internal war she was sensing beneath the surface. With Susan's cookie disaster averted, the group had rallied support around her, yet within Maria, a flickering flame of doubt still roared. She found herself gravitating back to the group, aiming to stoke the warmth of the moment. "Let us turn this into a game," Maria shouted, throwing her arms wide. "Who wants to have a cookie catch?" Surprised enthusiasm spread through the crowd. She quickly formed two lines, holding plates of cookies alley style, the women tossing cookies down the line, giggling as tackle attempts turned into airborne treats. The rain, once perceived as a foil, bathed them in an unexpected joy, and for a moment, the storm outside felt like an afterthought. But fear can be a tenacious guest. Each time Maria let her laughter escape, a tiny voice whispered in the back of her head, "What if this was just a facade?" She couldn't help but wonder, how could a few hours of fun erase the fears that had always lingered in her mind? Could the bonds they were building survive when the rain ceased, and reality kicked back in? Just then, Jasmine approached her with a wide grin, her cheeks flushed from laughter. "You have a way with people, Maria. Look at the energy you're bringing." Maria shared a tentative smile, her heart flickering at the compliment. "It feels nice, doesn't it?" But she hesitated, the noise of the carnival fading. "What happens when the sun comes out and we have to go back to our lives?" Jasmine's smile faltered just for a moment, a flash of understanding in her eyes. "I think that's up to us. We can foster this spirit, keep it alive. We are the community now." She gestured eagerly to the women bounding with laughter, carefree among the drizzle. "Look at us. We're stronger together, aren't we?" Before Maria could respond, Tara called out, her voice ringing clear. "Back to the fun. Who's ready for some cupcake decorating?" Tara glanced at Susan, who had regained some of her composure, wiping away tears of laughter and relief. The women erupted into cheers, their vibrancy infectious even in the midst of downpour. Encouraged by their excitement, Maria joined the parade toward the tables adorned with frosting and toppings. Later, as Maria meticulously drizzled chocolate icing on a cupcake, she smirked at the thought of how many sprinkles would be deemed too many. It became a game of its own. She looked around, boiling joy coursing through her. But just as she was about to put the final touch on her masterpiece, thunder crashed once again, reminding everyone of the storm's watchful presence. In an odd twist, it drew everyone's focus back, eyes shooting toward the dark clouds. Conversations lowered, laughter muted. Maria felt a wave of dread wash over her. Would their simple joy be washed away by these darker skies? Yet before she could dwell, she noticed Susan standing tall, her cupcake held high, a grin plastered on her face. "Look, we're still here, making the best of it. Who's with me?" What happened next surprised them. Everyone rallied around Susan, chanting for her. Each woman held their decorated cupcakes up as a show of unity and defiance against the storm, laughter mingling with the thunder. Suddenly, in that moment of self-proclaimed rebellion against the elements, Maria felt the warmth of belonging again. Perhaps this was the magic they were building, the connective thread that pulled them together. As the winds howled, the women banded in laughter, turning what could have been a disaster into a fierce celebration. But as she looked around, Maria couldn't shake the question that lingered: could the spirit persist, or would it fade as quickly as it came? Would they find strength when the real storms of life swept in? The air thickened with uncertainty, wrapping around the carnival with hope and challenge. What would they discover as the skies cleared? Would they emerge more connected? Or would the weight of reality scatter their fresh bonds? The world around them shifted as the storm raged on, testing the limits of their newfound camaraderie. Maria couldn't shake her unease, but she felt a pulse of hope in that moment. They were more than just a group of friends. Their laughter was a powerful weapon against fear, a shield crafted from joy. As they decorated their cupcakes, the colors of icing and the sparkle of sprinkles created a kaleidoscope of chaos. Maria watched Tara transform an ordinary cupcake into a whimsical creature, complete with gummy eyes and candy horns. Everyone else joined in on the fun, each woman adding her own twist, and Maria couldn't help but feel lighter. The creative chaos lifted up the heaviness that often loomed over her thoughts. "Okay, everyone," Tara clapped her hands to get attention. "Let us have a cupcake parade. The best decorated one gets a little prize." Excited murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. As they lined up, Maria felt a warmth swell inside her. Maybe the storm outside mirrored the unpredictability of life, but here, in this moment, they were crafting something beautiful together. But as they began to march around, proudly displaying their colorful creations, Maria caught sight of Susan lingering at the back, her cupcake untouched. The fire of joy around them dimmed slightly as Maria recognized the shadows creeping back into Susan's gaze. "Hey Susan," Maria called, breaking from the parade. "What's up? Don't tell me you're not gonna show us your masterpiece?" With a slight smirk, Susan replied, "I guess I just got overwhelmed." The infectious joy seemed to slip from her grasp like the melting frosting on her cupcake. "Come on," Maria coaxed, stepping closer. "It's all about having fun. Look, see?" She held up her cupcake, half-decorated and a little lopsided. "Mine's not perfect either. It's about the laughter, not the looks." As if pulled by the gravity of Maria's rallying call, Susan's smile flickered back to life. "You're right," she said, determination creeping into her voice. With a quick movement, she grabbed a bag of sprinkles, pouring them liberally onto her treat. "Let us do this." They rejoined the parade, and soon enough, laughter sparked once more. Maria knew she had reached Susan, but a deeper concern still clung to her. Would it always take a grand event like this to rekindle the spirit between them? Or could those feelings sustain on simple Tuesday nights over coffee? They reached the end of the yard, a natural audience of trees swaying and rain still drumming on the awning. Tara announced the winner of the cupcake contest, but instead of a single declaration, each unique cupcake earned a cheer. The love shared transcended any competition. It was a testament to their strength as a collective, and that sea of smiles. Maria felt a small flicker of enlightenment. They'd all come to appreciate the storm, the challenges, as part of their story. But as the rains began to ease, a part of her worried about what awaited them beyond this moment. They found joy together, but could their threads of connection hold firm amidst life's trials? The sky finally parted, revealing a sliver of sunlight that cut through the gray. The women embraced the warmth and luminosity. Their spirits lifted, but Maria's heart still held that whisper. Was this moment enough to weather the storms that lay ahead? Suddenly, a voice rang out, pulling her from her thoughts. Let us take a group picture. As they crowded together, arms around each other, their smiles bright against the lightning sky, Maria realized they were in this together. But when the photo was taken, she felt a shiver of uncertainty. Would these connections last? Would they remain steadfast when troubles knocked on their doors? As they looked at the picture, laughing and feeling the warmth of camaraderie, Maria couldn't shake off the question, unanswered yet hovering in the air. What was waiting for them in the journey ahead, and would they be ready when reality called? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the yard, the group's laughter gradually quieted. The storm had subsided, but the winds whispered secrets among the leaves, and Maria felt a twinge of anxiety knotting in her stomach. They stood together in a warm glow, yet something lingered unspoken. "Who wants to help me with the cleanup?" Tara asked, breaking the silence. Everyone groaned playfully but nodded in unison. Maria sensed the lightness beginning to dim again. Was it merely the end of their cupcake festivity? Or was it something more? As they cleared the remnants of the decorations, she noticed a slight distance settling back into their interactions. What happens next? Maria pondered, catching glimpses of Susan's fleeting expressions. The weight of uncertainty pressed on her. She caught Susan's gaze, and for a moment, their eyes locked. There was a silent understanding, a connection that pulsed but felt fragile. "I'll grab the trash bags," Susan chimed, suddenly energized as she dashed toward the table piled with plastic wrappers and used paper plates. Tara called out encouragement, but Maria noticed the slight falter in Susan's smile as she turned away. With each cupcake wrapper crumpled and tossed, the energy began to shift. Laughter faded into low chatter. Maria scooped a handful of colorful sprinkles, letting them slip through her fingers in the breeze, wishing for that bubbly feeling to last. It felt so fleeting, like a moment caught between joy and reality. "Let us have a sleepover next weekend." Tara's suggestion stirred a wave of excitement. "We can watch movies and eat all the leftover cupcakes." The suggestion broke through the clouds of doubt that had begun to settle. "I'm in," Susan replied, her spark rekindling and surprising even herself. "I'll bring snacks," Maria added, her eyes lighting up. It was comforting to imagine cozy blankets and familiar laughter. But just as quickly, a pang of fear shot through her. Would they follow through? Would the hopes of the sleepover weave them closer together or expose the cracks lurking beneath? "All right, adventure awaits," Tara declared. With renewed momentum, they finished cleaning up the remnants of their festive day. As darkness fully enveloped the sky, Maria glanced at her phone. Her heart skipped. It was late, and her mind raced with thoughts on how to keep the warmth of today alive. After the last plate was stacked on the table, the group stood outside, inhaling the cool, crisp air. Maria felt a surge of gratitude wash over her. "Tonight was amazing," she said, looking into the faces of her friends. "Thank you for being you." They murmured their agreement, and for a moment, the sense of unity soared. But lurking behind those smiles, Maria sensed an undercurrent of worry. Would the bonds they had sown today withstand the test of real life? The vulnerabilities, the pasts that lingered like shadows, would they remain strong enough together to face what lay ahead? As they each headed toward their cars, Maria lingered, feeling tied to this moment. But as she turned to get in her car, a sudden noise caught her attention. A soft yell echoed in the night. "Susan!" A voice emerged, urgent. Maria whipped around just in time to see a figure sprinting toward them, the silhouette shifting in the dim light. The air thickened with tension. "What now?" Maria whispered to herself, a mix of curiosity and fear racing through her. Susan was rooted at the edge of the driveway, her expression shifting from joy to confusion. Maria's heart raced. Something was about to change in their lives. As the figure drew closer, the unmistakable outline began to take shape. Would this be an unexpected reunion, a moment of chaos, or something entirely different? The night held its breath, and Maria felt a chill run down her spine. What would this new twist bring into their lives? Susan's confusion morphed into shock as the figure grew clearer in the dim light. It was Jake, her younger brother. His breath came in ragged bursts, like he had sprinted from a mile away. The laughter from earlier faded into the background, replaced by the pounding of Maria's heart. "Jake? What are you doing here?" Susan's voice trembled, teetering on the edge of disbelief. "It's late." Jake glanced around, his wild eyes scanning the group, searching for something. "I've been looking for you." Panic etched across his features, as if he had just raced through a storm more intense than the one they'd faced earlier that day. Maria stepped closer, drawn to the tension radiating from Susan. "Is everything okay?" she asked softly, sensing the gravity of the moment. "My car broke down on the way home," Jake replied, his words tumbling out as if they were trying to escape him. I thought you might see me out here when you left. I didn't want to be alone." Susan's face drained of color. "You should have called. You know I would have come to get you." Her voice had an edge now, a familiar blend of worry and frustration as she crossed the space between them. Maria felt the air thicken with emotions just waiting to be released. The planning for the sleepover faded into the background, replaced by a yearning to hold onto the connection they had shared just moments before. "Why didn't you think to call me earlier?" Susan pressed, cradling her phone as if it were a lifeline. "Because I knew you were busy," Jake whispered, looking down. "I didn't want to interrupt your night." Maria exchanged glances with Tara and the others. It was clear this was more than just a brotherly visit. It lifted the veil on something deeper, something Susan had likely been wrestling with. "Jake, you're my brother. Of course I want to help you. You're never an interruption," Susan replied, her voice softening. She wrapped her arms around him, pulling him into a tight hug. "It's just, I didn't want you to worry," Jake murmured, resting his head on her shoulder. At that moment, Maria realized how fragile their lives were. No one truly knew what challenges lay on the horizon. The laughter of earlier seemed like a distant memory, replaced by this raw moment of vulnerability. As the two siblings stood close, Tara turned to Maria, her eyes wide. "Now I feel even more pressure for next weekend," she said with a half-smile. "What if we can't even fix this?" The truth was heavier than the night air. Maria's chest tightened. The potential sleepover now felt like a fragile thread dangling in the midst of the chaos. Would it be a safe harbor, or would it expose the storms already brewing? "I think we can find a way to make it work," Maria replied, trying to infuse confidence into her words. "We are stronger together, right?" Nodding, Tara glanced towards Susan and Jake. "Right?" she echoed, her voice steadier than before. However, a deeper worry nagged at Maria, pulling at her heartstrings. Was it really enough to lean on one another? In that moment of connection, she could practically feel shadows lurking behind their unity, waiting for the right moment as they stood together. A semblance of normalcy crept back in. Laughter bubbled up once more, hesitant yet genuine, reflecting the uncertainty of what was to come. Yet what had begun as a simple night of cupcakes now spiraled into something much more complex, uncharted waters waiting to be navigated. Suddenly, Maria's phone buzzed like a warning bell. A text from her mom flashed on the screen, filled with urgent words. Maria's breath hitched again as she glanced at the clock, her heart racing. This night was far from over, and now there were more questions than before. What had started as a sweet celebration was shifting into a reality that no one could have anticipated. She faced her friends, a knot tightening in her stomach. What else could change tonight? And above all, how would they rise against whatever was coming? The buzzing of Maria's phone echoed through the backyard, her heart racing as she tapped on the notification. The message was brief but heavy. "We need to talk. It's about your dad. Please come home now." The air seemed to thicken, pressing against her chest. She blinked, trying to process the weight of the words. The laughter that had just filled the space faded into a haunting silence. Everyone's eyes turned to her, expressions ranging from concern to confusion. Maria felt exposed, as if the cool night air had stripped away her defenses. "Hey, what's up?" Tara asked, stepping closer, her brow furrowed. "My mom," Maria started, but she couldn't finish. The unsaid words piled up, choking her. She swallowed hard. "She just texted me. I think something's wrong with my dad." In an instant, the carefree energy dissipated. Susan and Jake exchanged worried glances, the earlier joy replaced by a weight of apprehension. "Do you want us to come with you?" Susan asked, her voice soft, almost protective. Maria shook her head, feeling an inner turmoil. "I don't know. I mean, you guys should stay here, it was just supposed to be fun, but it's your family," Jake interjected quietly, his concern palpable. "We'll come with you. You shouldn't have to face this alone." The determination in his voice surprised her. In that moment, she realized how much these connections mattered, especially when facing the unknown. She nodded slowly, gratitude swelling up within her. "Okay," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "Let us go." The group gathered themselves, the laughter from before now replaced with quiet determination. As they made their way to the car, Maria felt a strange mix of dread and comfort. She wasn't alone. She didn't have to carry the weight of worry by herself. The drive home was filled with a heavy silence, punctuated only by the hum of the engine. Maria couldn't help but replay the possible scenarios in her head. What could be wrong? She could feel her palms sweating against her phone, the device now a tether to her uncertain world. Jake, sensing her unease, nudged her with his elbow. "Whatever happens, we're here for you." His words were simple, yet they wrapped around her like a warm blanket as they approached Maria's house. The familiar silhouette loomed in the dim light, but everything felt different now. She half expected to see her dad waiting at the door with a smile, but no one was there. The house felt too still, too quiet. Stepping out of the car, Maria hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. "What if whatever it is, we'll handle it together," Susan said firmly, holding Maria's hand for added strength. With the steadying support of her friends behind her, Maria walked toward the door. Each step felt heavier, as if gravity was pulling her down. She pushed open the door, the creak slicing through the silence, and entered the living room. The dim lighting barely illuminated the room, but she saw her mom sitting on the couch, her face buried in her hands. "Mom?" Maria's voice trembled, the sound breaking the night's oppressive air. Her mother lifted her head, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Maria, it was as if time stood still, the weight of that moment crashing down. Maria's heart sank, swelling with fear and sadness. What had happened? What could be wrong? As she stepped further inside, the knot in her stomach tightened. But at that moment, a sudden thought pierced through her fear. What if the reality she was walking into was not the end of something, but the beginning of a fight worth having? And just like that, Maria realized that the battle ahead would need all of them together. Could they face what was to come as a united front? Or would the darkness consume them first? Maria stepped into the living room, her gaze locked onto her mom's tear-streaked face. The shadows in the room felt darker, looming like unknown threats. "What happened? Where's Dad?" she managed to choke out, her voice wavering as she took a step closer. Her mother took a shaky breath, the cracks in her composure evident. He's at the hospital," she said, a quiver interrupting her words. "He had an episode, a heart issue." The air sucked out of the room. Maria's pulse raced, and she felt a wave of nausea wash over her. "What do you mean, an episode?" The question burst forth, desperation tinging her voice. "I didn't want to worry you. I thought it was just stress," but her mom couldn't finish, her voice strangled by sorrow. She reached out, and Maria rushed to her, wrapping her arms around her mom, feeling the rhythm of their hearts sink in fearful beats. Jake and Susan stood a few steps behind, uncertainty etched on their faces. Maria could sense their need to help, but she also needed to shield them from this crushing reality. Yet their presence was a comfort amidst the chaos. "Mom, what did the doctors say?" Maria asked, trying to stay strong, yet her heart felt like it had turned to ice. "They said he's stable for now. They want to run some tests. It's scary, Maria. I've never seen him like this." The frailty of her mom's words cut deeper than any physical wound. Maria's mind raced with images of her father, his laughter, his steady hands guiding her through life. "Can we see him?" The question slipped out before she could wrap her mind around the gravity of it all. Her mom nodded, wiping away tears. "We can go. Just give me a minute to gather myself." While her mom stood to gather her things, Maria felt a rush of heat wash over her skin, the kind that comes when adrenaline floods the body. "Are you okay, Mom?" she asked, concern threading her voice. "I will be. I just need to hold it together for your father. He needs us," her mom replied, determination igniting behind her tears. Jake and Susan exchanged quick glances, realizing how vulnerable this moment was. They tiptoed over, and Jake placed a hand on Maria's shoulder. "We're coming with you, okay? We won't let you go through this alone." His voice was steady, a lifeboat in a stormy sea. Maria turned to face them, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you. I don't think I can do this without you guys." The drive to the hospital felt like it stretched on forever. The world outside blurred into a hazy backdrop of lights and shadows. Fear curled around Maria's heart, tightening its grip with each traffic light. She could feel the weight of worry in her friends, but she also felt a comforting warmth in their solidarity. When they finally reached the hospital, the sterile smell and bright lights surged over her like an unwelcome tide. Her feet felt heavy as they walked through the sliding glass doors, but she kept moving, driven by the thought of her DS. They approached the nurse's station. Her mom approached the receptionist, voice trembling but resolute. "We're here to see Robert Garcia." The nurse's comforting smile only deepened Maria's sense of dread. "You can take a seat. I'll let the doctors know you're here." Maria settled into the plastic chair, surrounded by the starkness of the waiting area. Time crawled as she clocked every second. Her mind raced with what-ifs. What if her dad didn't get better? What if this was the beginning of a heart-wrenching struggle they weren't prepared for? Just then, the doors swung open, and a doctor stepped through, his expression solemn. Fear coursed through Maria, gripping her like a vice. The moment felt monumental. She could feel the world around them fade into silence, every heart in the room holding its breath. Would they be ready to hear what came next? As the doctor called for them with a nod, Maria locked eyes with Jake and Susan. United, they stood, gripping each other's hands as they moved toward the unknown. Would they find comfort? More darkness? Whatever awaited them, they were ready to face it together. Yet deep down, Maria couldn't shake the thought. What if this moment changed everything? The hospital room felt surreal, the beeping machines, the sterile smell, and the tension hanging in the air. Inside, her father lay still, his usual vibrancy muted by the stark white sheets. Maria's heart raced as she stepped closer, feeling the familiar warmth of her friends close behind her. "Dad," the single word escaped her lips, a quiver of hope mingling with fear. His eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, confusion clouded his face before recognition ignited a thin smile. "Maria," he whispered, his voice weak, yet somehow grounding. In that instant, everything else faded into the background. The reality of the past hours crushed down like a heavy fog, but her dad's gaze, there it was, the familiar spark of life, the man who had always held her hand through storms. "I'm right here," she said, squeezing his hand, feeling his warmth against her clammy skin. "We're all here." With her mother by her side, every heartbeat echoed the urgency of the moment, the unspoken love hanging thick in the air. Jake and Susan stood off to the side, their expressions painted with empathy and support. Trolls of uncertainty wrapped around Maria's chest, but she breathed through it, reminding herself she was not alone. Suddenly, her dad's eyes widened with concern. "Maria, I didn't want you to see me like this. We can't just leave you," she replied, her voice steadying as she clung to his hand tighter. "You need to fight, Dad. We need you." In that cramped hospital room, beneath the fluorescent lights, tears broke free from her mother's eyes. "I need you, Robert," her mom added, her voice quavering with raw emotion. The doctor re-entered with a compassionate gaze. "I know this is a lot to process, but your father is stable, and we're going to run some tests to ensure we can manage this." Maria locked eyes with Jake and Susan, who whispered words of encouragement, uniting them in this battle for her dad's health. Hours went by like an eternity, filled with anxious waiting, fleeting smiles, and whispered hopes. They traded stories of laughter, reminding everyone that life, even in its most fragile state, still held bits of joy. And then, as they sat in that quiet space, it hit her. The profound realization that began as a flicker ignited into a fire within. These women, once competitors, now were her sisters in arms, grounding her in ways she never thought possible. "Let us make a promise," Maria said suddenly, her heart swelling with newfound determination. "No matter what happens, we stick together through all storms, light or dark." Jasmine, who had been quiet, nodded with fierce conviction. "Together." Amin Tara echoed. "I can help organize support groups for families going through this." Layla chimed in, her entrepreneurial spirit igniting with purpose. Rosa stood tall, a smile breaking through her concern. "We create a community. We protect each other as families." The room shifted, their bonds solidified with that promise, breaking through any remaining doubts. Each woman had a role to play, and together, they could weather any storm. Days turned into weeks as they set the plan in motion. The community carnival blossomed, not just as a fun distraction, but as a support system integrating health workshops, fostering connections, and creating spaces for healing. Maria felt her heart bloom each time the community came together. They transformed that carnival into something bigger, a reflection of their shared experiences. Laughter mingled with tears as they shared their fears and hopes. And in the midst of it all, her father slowly regained strength. With every shared moment, the surprise cupcakes, healing hugs, and tear-soaked laughter, he became the living thread that stitched them all together. One crisp afternoon, as Maria sat with her dad, he smiled, a twinkle in his eye. "You've done something remarkable, kiddo. I see the way you attract people, the way you bring them together. Keep that light shining." With her heart full, Maria realized what they had begun was just a start. This camaraderie would not fade or dwindle into memories. And true to their promise, they would keep nurturing this community beyond any card game, beyond any singular event. A family forged through the uncertainties of life. As the season shifted, so too did their bonds deepen, woven tightly with shared laughter, understanding, and love. Together, they stood ready for whatever storm lay ahead, grounded in their newfound strength, knowing that in unity, they had all the power they needed not just for survival but to thrive. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will warm your heart and inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let us know how this transformation impacted you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring journey. They thank you for it. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.